week, just to give a little background of sort of where we are and what we've been up to. So I'm David Ezell. For those of you who don't know me, I'm with the State Planning Office. This is a project that's in coordination with the Delaware State Planning Organization, State Planning Office, DelDOT, and the Town of Smyrna. And the important part is we're all working together and collaborating on the Route 13 corridor. This project has been really a one-week intensive design week. It's called a charrette in other places. And the idea is we started the week with a public workshop to gather input and ideas. We actually started even before that with a series of public interviews with stakeholders in the corridor. And we went through, we actually started from there and developed some ideas and some alternatives. Wednesday we tested them out with some open houses during lunch and also in the evening. And in fact, we actually had people stopping by in our design studio all day Wednesday and all day Thursday and collected a lot of good ideas, a lot of good comments and reactions that have helped guide the final product and the final presentation you're going to see here tonight. When I say final, that really means it's a draft of a plan that we've worked out, and we're going to continue to refine it and present it, and we'll talk about that a little bit more towards the end. But what we'd like to do now is our consultants, Joe Bukovetsky and Betsy Mastralio. I'm sorry. I've been practicing this, you know. They're with McCormickTaylor, and they have really been sort of our guiding force and done a lot of the renderings and the drawings and shared their experience with us. They've done a lot of corridor planning elsewhere, and their experience has really added a lot to this process, and I want to thank them very much for their work on this. And we're going to turn it over to Joe, I think, and Betsy to give a presentation about the process and the product. And without further ado, Joe.
Thank you, David. We have on slides mostly representations of the same kind of material that's in the other room, so hopefully you've had a chance to look at that. We're going to go through these fairly quickly. It starts off with a few slides that are part of the presentation I made Monday night. There's just 3 or 4 slides, and after that it's Smyrna. The first ones are about corridor planning in general and kind of what this exercise aims to do. What's the purpose? The purpose is to provide additions for transportation and for land use. It's to look at a range of different strategies and also to identify kind of the way forward, because there's only a certain amount you can do in a week and kind of point the direction.
This is the north section of the corridor. So it's the northern interchange with Route 1 down to the creek over here. This is the Commerce Corridor theme, which looks at continuing the retail presence along the corridor. In some instances, you'll see some new buildings. Perhaps they're sited in a different way. They're brought up to the street. This is the idea to help improve the pedestrian access along the corridor. So sidewalks would continue along the corridor, and there would be some buildings fronting the corridor so that pedestrians aren't just next to the parking. There's a little bit of an environment there. It also looks at where these concentration of retail areas are not. It looks at trying to preserve where there might be views or vistas into agriculture or open space. It does that by taking these areas just off of the corridor and emphasizing something called cluster development, which looks at retaining as much open space as possible when you develop. So it might be a smaller building footprint closer together in order to preserve more land. So that was, continuing on the Commerce Corridor theme, we move further south into the center. Here's downtown over here. Again, the creek is up here. This is Glenwood, and here is Commerce Street. So what this does is it looks at, we know that there's a lot of retail and commercial along the corridor. What if it, as it redevelops, particularly the intersections at Glenwood and Commerce, sort of the main entrances or gateways into the downtown, you would concentrate buildings up to the street, provide a continuous streetscape, and sort of turn that streetscape in on Glenwood and Commerce to continue that idea of you're entering downtown. So it might draw the people using 13 into downtown, but you would start with the cues along 13 that this is a special place. And then moving along with the Commerce Corridor theme in the south, this is Simon's Corner over here. Some of this has been built. There are retailers in there. It hasn't all been built out. So it looks at what's there stays, but the things that come in the future get pushed up to the, against the sidewalk, and parking's in the back. And then on the other street, it starts to develop similarly. We've done nothing to the Smyrna Diner, we heard. But then what if that starts to extend back here, and some offices or business campuses might develop there. So again, it's sort of a similar commercial and retail, just in a slightly different form. It starts to improve that, again, with sidewalks and streetscape in here. Then we'll go in the same order, north, center, south, looking at our other alternative, which was live, work, shop, play. As Joe mentioned, that really included a mix of uses, so mixing both retail and residential and office and outdoor space all into the mix. So in the north, this is Paddock Road and Joe Goldsboro Road right here, and here's Route 13. It looks at, similar to an idea in the center, it looks at really announcing the intersection of those two roads to create a sense of place. So the lanes are brought up to the front, there's a bit of an open space, and you can see the pedestrian orientation across both across Street and 13 is really emphasized to prioritize pedestrian movement across both Paddock Road and Route 13, and the development is clustered around that. We start to see clues for a roadway network that might begin to develop as the area out there is developed. That's really critical to providing alternatives for vehicular, pedestrian, and bicycle traffic, so not everybody's forced into the same place. Live, work, shop, play as we move south into the center. Again, this is the downtown, Glenwood and Commerce Street. This looks at not just continuing at these intersections right here, these critical intersections that would be tying into downtown, but what if sort of that section between those streets were to start to develop like that? A different form than what's downtown. These, again, would be mixed use. You'd have streetscape on here connecting them. And we heard a lot about pedestrian and bike mobility. Here we've emphasized a trail that would run along George's Alley on the east side, making breaks in the connections here, again, to do that crossing of Route 13 that we heard so much about. It also, we heard the importance of open space and sort of community facilities, so it looks at making open space or something towards the community on the Boys and Girls Club site. Again, it's a really important intersection for bringing people into the village, again, especially with the proposed library down here. So sort of a lot of emphasis at Commerce and then continuing on these corridors. We've made some sensitivities to some of the properties and sites that we heard a little bit more about, either their use or their building form or their historic tendency. And looking at the south, again, this is Simon's Corner we talked about here. Here's access to Route 1. What we thought is some of Simon's Corner that fronts along 13 has been put in. This largely has not been developed in the back yet, although there is a plan. This one proposes what's called a lifestyle center, which is really mixed use in a residential area. Generally retail on the first floor, residential, perhaps office on the upper floors, and it's oriented in a way that there might be sort of a center place that could be used for programs for public gatherings or outdoor concerts or something. But it's really about the pedestrian movement between these shops, across the street, and along the street frontages. So that might be phase one. As you build on this success and it starts to evolve, it turns into a phase two, where the frontage of Simon's Corner starts to develop in a way that supports that lifestyle center, and then again it crosses Route 13 until this whole area has developed as sort of the mixed-use, walkable area.
So we came up with these ideas, and then we had for developers, all sorts of different ideas that are follow-through from this study. So basically, keep it going. Got it started this week, and hopefully there's sufficient interest on the part of everybody to keep moving in the right direction. Got another slide for you.
Okay, and thank you, Joe and Betsy, and give them a round of applause for all the work they've done. We were here at the final presentation. Probably now and sometime September, October, we're going to be working as a group to come together with a document that can be compiled with this information and some writing that kind of follows along with the types of themes that Joe was talking about that we can present for public review. The document is going to be designed in a way that it can be adopted by the Town of Smyrna as an amendment to the comprehensive plan. And that's very important because the comprehensive plan in Delaware law is the official document for how the town is going to grow and develop as years go. And when the plan is adopted and amended in this way, it's really a signal to the state and the other local governments and all the agencies that everybody understands and buys into those concepts. So that's really going to set the stage, both from a legal standpoint and also from the standpoint of giving the vision and the guidance to the Town of Smyrna on how to proceed. So that's important. So the thought would be that the document would be prepared, presented to the Town of Smyrna, and then perhaps in November or perhaps in December, it would be time to have it reviewed in public again through the Planning Commission and the Council in Smyrna. And as it is a plan amendment, it would have to go through the state review process through the Preliminary Land Use Service. That could perhaps happen in January, and then February through this really should say March. February through March, it could go to the Town Council for review and approval, and perhaps the NPO Council. And again, the Metropolitan Planning Organization is the group that coordinates the planning and transportation projects from the federal, state, and local governments here in Kent County. And they have a role in prioritizing projects that get done, and having them adopt this as well would sort of help in that prioritization process as Smyrna has projects as time moves forward. So that is sort of where we're going from here. Again, what we have here is sort of our preferred alternatives, and it's really a draft. We expect to hear from all of you as time goes on when that document comes out. Does anybody have any final thoughts or questions or comments before we go to closing remarks? To turn it over to Mayor Pat Stombaugh and Jeff Flairty from the Town Council and the Long Range Planning Committee to make some closing remarks. And come on up and let us know what you're thinking. Thanks.
Thank everybody. I'd like for coming tonight and also for your participation this past week. The input from the citizens was very, very important. I'd like to thank your staff, everybody that was involved in making this possible. It's something that we've been struggling with for some time now. I've served as mayor 6 years now, and all 6 years we've had the Long Range Planning Committee looking at different options. And it was great to have some professionals come in and help us out with this, and I'd just like to thank everybody that was involved with it, and I hope we can keep it going.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to thank everybody. I think the consultants did a great job, and I think the MPO and the State Planning Office, everybody was. The fact that everyone got to work together along with the town employees and no one killed each other, so to speak, I think it's a huge step. The fact that it happened here in Smyrna is an even bigger bonus for us. I mean, this is a huge, I'm so excited about this, the potential opportunities. One of the things I thought of on the way over was there's a lot of symbolism in this plan and where we're at now. This building is full of history for the town of Smyrna, plus a lot of opportunity for the future. And this plan represents the same thing. It takes into account a lot of the history of the town, plus the potential for the future. And the fact that we're here today and we're talking about this, I think is just great. And I just want to urge everybody to continue this excitement and focus. And even if you don't see exactly what you want up here, that means that we can work towards getting what you want at the end of the day. Don't give up on us. We're going to keep working on this. And it may take 5, 10, 15 years, but what was said earlier is really important, is that if we can get this approved through council, through the state agencies, we're going to be placed higher than other municipalities to get state and federal monies to do the things we want to do. So this is really important that we move forward on this and we adopt this in some manner so that we can move forward. So again, I want to thank everybody very much.